Welcome to the Jboy Show, hosted by Jake Crain, the fastest growing sports show in the nation.
I'm Coach Hugh Freeze.
This is Super Bowl champion Brandon Graham.
Hey, this is DJ Shockley, and you're watching.
And thanks for watching the Jboy Show.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again on another edition of the Jboy Show. Got another banger coming your way as usual. Former Auburn head coach, has been a head coach for 25 years. Now he's at ULM Monroe. Terry Bowden got an abbreviated interview. Going to get him back. We talk Auburn. We talk Louisiana Monroe. But before I get in this monologue, got to give a shout out to betonline.ag. Head over there today. Whether you want parlays, teasers, pleasers, team props, player props, however you get down, whatever you want to bet. They're going to have great sign-up bonuses. They're going to play the sharps. We got NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball regular season, as eventually we'll get into the end in this 300-game regular season in Major League Baseball. But until then, you need to make sure you're signed up at betonline.ag. Head over there today and tell them that Jboy sent you. Now, I do real quick want to say we got verified on Twitter yesterday. I really appreciate all the support from everybody. It's something, especially if you followed the show from the beginning. We really started from the bottom and are working our way up. But, you know, as good as it is, it doesn't change anything. It's not going to change us. It's not going to change me. It's not going to change the content or the grind, the way we put it out to give you, the viewer, the best content without politics in sports and help you win the water cooler. So just a quick thanks. And again, you know, it's just another step on the ladder that we're trying to take to try and become the best that there is out there. And we're not going to stop till that's the case. But my monologue today, and I talked about being, you know, a head coach and how to prioritize things and not being able to stay in the room the whole time. But something that Terry Bowden talks about when I asked him about his father, Bobby Bowden, the influence that he had on him, was how to be a head coach and to not always cave into peer pressure from whether it's the media or boosters or something like that, and to really be yourself. And there's a way to go about it instead of taking the easy way out. Maybe it's a lot easier and the fan base and a bunch of the people want to kick a guy off, but you feel like you can change him and you can help him and you want to help him for the rest of his life and not just kick him out and give him a chance. Now, sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. But it's not bad to go against the popular crowd or the popular opinion as a head coach. In fact, when you do that, your team or whoever at the end of the day, whether they agree with the situation or they don't, they know that you are really making decisions based on what you think is best for the players. Because the coaches that get the most out of their players understand that I cannot ask a human being, and I'm talking about football, to physically run into another human being, two grown men basically running into each other at full speed multiple times during a game if he doesn't trust me, or if they don't think that I'm trying to make decisions that are in the best interest of the team and for them as people. And whether it's taking time when guys come in your office that want to talk about stuff that's outside football, even with all the stressors that come with being a head coach, having to do the media appearances, being the one that's held accountable, win, lose, or draw. And that's how it should be when you take that mantle. But it's amazing the relationships that get cultivated when the players trust that you are making decisions based on not only the team's best interests, but their best interests. Understanding that playing guys who are too hurt to play sends not only a bad message to the team, but it's dangerous. And I think in today's game, especially with recruiting, the way that social media is, and there's so much more interaction between the head coach and the players, and they really know each other on an individual level and not just through the recruiting process, but you watch somebody grow up right in front of your eyes, and the success is blended exactly with not only the talent, you have to have that, but being able to have disciplined players and have players that know you love them and you care about them, because that's how you're going to get the most out of them. That's how you're going to squeeze every inch and try and put them in a position to have success. Because at the end of the day, a coach's job is to push a player further than he can push himself. That's not just running suicides. That's not just running 100s. That's if you break up with your girlfriend or your mom's sick and you need somebody to talk to, or maybe, you know, you're down or you're depressed or you have other stuff going on in your life, being able to go not only to the position coach, but go to the head coach and talk about things outside of, you need to press this point on the power, or you need to stem this route at 8 yards. It's amazing on 4th and 1 how that can make the difference. And I really hope everybody understands that. And you look at guys like Nick Saban and you look at guys like Kirby Smart, and you see him on the sideline sometimes, and you see him yelling, you're like, oh, this guy must be crazy. But what you don't realize is their players know that they care about them. They're not always like that. They know what makes them laugh. They know what makes them cry. Now, that's how you can get on them. You can be hard on them if they know that you love them. You can't just go and start berating a guy if he doesn't trust you, you never talk to him, you don't know him. But at the end of the day, when that happens on the practice field, on the game field, regardless of how mad the player is or how embarrassed he is that this guy's yelling at me or whatever, he knows deep down that coach is doing that because it's the best thing for me, because I need that. And once you establish that rapport, you can do great things, especially with great players. And that's my monologue for today. Excited to get Terry Bowden in here. I do real quick want to shout out our partners over at Dynasty U, great podcasts like the LinkedIn for Recruiting. Check them out on Google Play, anywhere you get your apps. It's fantastic, whether you're a coach or a parent of a player or a player yourself. It's very concise. You can put it all in one place. Let's get to Terry Bowden. Let's win the water cooler. All right, hello, everybody. We're getting to the interview portion of today's show and got a great one today. A guy that's been around, that's been a head coach at the highest level, is currently a head coach in the Division I level at Louisiana Monroe, a place I'm very familiar with. Love it down there in the Sun Belt. Former Auburn head coach. I can go down the list. Coach Terry Bowden. Coach, I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I'm glad. I've watched you. I've heard you. And I've heard a lot about your show. I'm glad you had me on. I said I'm not anywhere until I can get back on Jboy Show.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate that. Those are really kind words, Coach. And having you on here, and I know there's a lot of momentum y'all got down there in Monroe, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But with our audience being huge SEC, obviously your time at Auburn. My father, Crain, was on your staff, and you guys had a lot of success going undefeated. And I got to ask you, Coach, can you give me and the audience one of your favorite memories when you were the head man at Auburn? And we'll get into Monroe here in a second.
Well, I think in looking back, everybody remembers that after my third year there, I hired Brother Oliver from Alabama. He was the defensive coordinator at Alabama and probably the premier guy. If you think about defensive coordinators today, he was the premier defensive coordinator of the country. And I was so young and naive, I thought it would make no waves. I just went across the state and hired Brother Oliver from Alabama. And he came over and joined me at Auburn. But it was so funny because when I first went to Auburn, I'm a little bitty 5'6" guy, and I wore a shirt and a tie, if people will remember when I coached. And he was at a Red Elephant Club or something and was saying, he nicknamed me Buster Brown. And everybody kind of called him how funny it was. And so after we went undefeated and then the last game beat Alabama, they were the defending national champions. Somebody asked me if they still call me Buster Brown over at Alabama. I said, no, now they call me Buster Brown, sir. And so we've always got a kick out of that. But I love my time here, and your dad with me at those times were just wonderful times together. What a hard-nosed, great coach he was as well.
No, I appreciate that. And obviously, what he thought of you and the respect he had for you and the things that you guys did there and going undefeated in 93 and the guys you recruited and the way you did it. And man, they played hard and there were some great memories there. And Coach, I want to ask you and in the time that we have, and I do want to ask about Monroe, obviously, but when you look at the game nowadays, obviously it's changed a lot schematically. You've got this NIL stuff coming down the pipe, Supreme Court ruling. How interesting has it been for you? And I'm not trying to call you old or age you, but to be a head man and be involved at the highest levels of this, transformation of the game and the way you look at it now compared to back then.
Well, if you're going to coach in this business a long time, and I usually define long time as going from decade to decade. If you're not able to change with the times, you can't last. My father coached 7 different decades, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010, 11 was his last year. That's 7 decades. And I've been a head coach in 5 decades. And so things constantly change, whether it was his years of segregation to integration to Vietnam War to the X generation to millennials. And then with me going from I formation football to West Coast to 4 wide outs to tempo, all those different things. You've got to accept the fact that football changes. And the one thing we all must remember is you must be on the front end of the curve. So many coaches, they don't make it because they can't change and adapt. They get used to doing one thing and they can't change to another. I've often said that if you're the first guy to put the wishbone in, you won a national championship. If you're the last guy to take it out, you got fired. And so that's a fact. And so every now and then we go through a transition, and I don't even have a favorite transition. I like the one that wins today.
Yeah.
And I hope that I'm smart enough to put that style of play in and not hang on. And Jboy, I'm going to tell you, the toughest thing is you got a bunch of old lettermen at every school you ever go to, and they like to play football like we used to play football. And I don't know how many times, even at Auburn, boy, you better run that fullback and throw it to the tight end. And now, of course, that probably is gone now, but, you better have 4 wideouts and play as fast as you can. That's getting pretty old school, too.
Yeah, yes, sir. And that was a great way to encapsulate that. It's so interesting, even the time I've been on this earth, to see the transition from the offense,
Right.
even seeing Nick Saban evolve that offense and realizing, hey, we got to score. We're not going to beat guys 9-6 anymore. But
Yeah.
Coach, being that I'm a coach's son, you're a coach's son,
Yeah.
the brother of a coach, Coach Tommy, hope he's doing well. And but what was the one thing or the main thing that you got, from your father, being the larger than life guy that he is? 'Cause it's got to be such a great resource in the position that you've been in and other positions to be able to bounce stuff off of him as well.
Jake, I think my brother Tommy, I heard him give an interview once, and he was either the head coach at Tulane or Clemson at that time. He was asked that same question. And as he gave the answer, he said, I've always just kind of understood how to act like a head coach. And I think that's the one thing we learned how to act like a head coach. When things go wrong, what do you say to the press? When things go right, how do you handle that? How do you come through difficult situations and have the right way of dealing with it? How do you treat people? How do you treat your alumni? How do you respond to the media? How do you discipline players? Do you kick everybody off just to make your fans happy because they love you to kick off bad elements? Or do you keep a guy on because you don't want to see his life just go to waste into nothing, and deal with the pressures of people saying that all you care about is winning? And so I think knowing how to be a head coach, now we had a hard act to follow. My father is not just one of the most successful of all time, but he probably is the most respected of all time as far as the way he coached. And so there were a lot of lessons, but mostly I think I would have to say just knowing how to act like a head coach.
Yeah. And again, it's, you talk about the respect level and just seeing him. I mean, the things he was able to do and accomplish, and you guys. And Coach, last question for you. I know we're limited on time today. Going to get you back on there. I know it's a lot of excitement.
I'll be back. I promise.
I know how busy it is. And shoot, it's I always talk about, being the head coach is not just getting in there and deciding, hey, we're going to run the power. It's a whole heck of a lot more goes into it than that. But just talk about you taking that job, the excitement right now around the program, and just your vision of how you want your team to play and your team's identity going into this first season.
Well, you know when I first went from Stanford University to Auburn to the SEC, and you flip that video on, it was a projector at one time, there was a video, and now it's an internet reception. you saw how intense they played in the SEC, how fast the game was played, how tough it was being played. And we had tough guys. I mean, our staff, we had guys like your dad, Crain, who was just one of the toughest linebackers you've ever seen. Oh, yeah. Wayne Hall, a tough guy, played for Bear Bryant, was on our defense. It was just, my eyes were opened even for a son of a coach. And I think as I come to and this will be the last job, I would say this is the first job I've ever taken. I'm 65 years old, and I've been a head coach 25 years,
wow.
Broadcaster for 10.
Yes, sir.
I'm not looking for another job. There's not another place to go. I'll hang my hat here. But if you do, you want them to say those kids played hard. They played with class. They represent this university well. They were proud to say these were ULM football players because of the way they played. I mean, as hard as you can play, as tough as you can play, but they play with class. And they represent everybody at this university. The wins will come. We'll celebrate our first victory because we haven't had one in a while. But the wins will come if we play hard, coach well, and do the little things. The wins will come.
Yes, sir. And again, excited to watch you in this first year. And like you said, you understand it. And the Sun Belt, that's a hell of a league. It's you look around that league, that there's not a week off, and was in it and understand it. But Coach Bowden, I really appreciate it. Know you're a busy man, and we'll do this again soon. God bless you. And again, I appreciate you taking some time and coming on.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you guys as well. Make sure you subscribe to Jboy Show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Head to the jboyshow.com, grab some merch. It's been another edition of the Jboy Show with new La Monroe head coach Terry Bowden. That's right, Terry Bowden. And we're gone.
The Jboy Show is produced by David Cohn, Technical Director Dave Hammock, Creative Director David Culbertson, Audio Engineer Feyzan Shareef, Production Assistants Blaine Crain and Kyle Orr, Executive Producers Jake Crain, Vince Thompson, Steve Chamberlain, and David Cohn. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website, thejboyshow.com, for updates regarding our newest apparel and merch designs. Win the water cooler with the Jboy Show.